If you've ever done a blood test before, there's a high chance that you've done it wrong. And so in this video, I'm going to show you why you want to be doing advanced blood analysis, the problem with conventional testing and why it might be the reason you're still stuck when it comes to your health, the difference between optimal and normal analysis, and how to get an accurate result when you get blood work done without wasting thousands of dollars. If you don't know who I am, my name is Indri Caruana and I'm the head coach and founder of Human Blueprint. And over the last 4 years, I've looked at over 500 different blood panels and helped hundreds of clients ranging from athletes to performers to entrepreneurs and everyday men who know the importance of looking after their health. So let's get into the main reason why you want to be doing advanced blood analysis. And that is because you will eliminate guesswork. Now, everybody online is teaching you a different method or a different modality, and a lot of them are coming from a place of this worked for me, so it will work for you. But that is not correct because you have a unique biochemistry, a unique physiology, and a unique story, and that needs to be addressed. And I like to use the reference of a grenade versus a sniper. When you listen to the podcasts and you save the Instagram reels, and you have this friend telling you to do this and you've read this book, you're taking pieces from different educators or different people's methodologies, and you're essentially throwing a grenade. You're just hoping that something will work. You may not even know what it is you're targeting with that grenade. So spray and pray, hope something works, waste thousands on supplements, try a diet because it's primal or because this guy has a six-pack and he's online. But when you use advanced blood analysis, you can be the sniper. You can be precise with exactly what it is you're focused on in terms of your physiology or in terms of your goal. And you can be precise and accurate with the protocols that you follow to do that. So that's your nutrition, your supplementation, peptides, lifestyle strategies. All of that has a direction and has a purpose when you do advanced blood analysis. Another thing that is what I see many, many times with clients, and I saw it with myself in terms of athletic performance, but also with my physique massively when I first started doing blood work and having it analyzed properly, is that you will break through your plateaus. So maybe you have hit a certain level of conditioning. Maybe you have hit a certain amount of weight that you can lift in the gym. Maybe you haven't seen progress in your physique for a very long time. That plateau is going to be absolutely busted when you do advanced blood analysis because there are likely things that you think need to be improved by a new training protocol or more conditioning, or maybe it's a new diet plan based on X, the guy on X's advice. But when you understand, okay, maybe I don't actually lack conditioning, maybe I lack electrolytes and I'm deficient in potassium and I'm deficient in sodium and I have some chronic inflammation that's not letting me actually recover from my workouts. That's where you break through the plateaus. And so time and time again, I've seen it with clients. They address inflammation, they address nutrient deficiencies, they add some zinc in, they have better protein synthesis, and they grow more muscle and they burn more fat and they look leaner because they've removed the inflammation. Not only do you break through your plateaus, but you work smarter, not harder. Now, this is a massive piece of what we're trying to do, okay? So I come back to the conditioning. If you come back to the conditioning, you're trying to run further and you're just constantly gassing out at a certain, or bonking at a certain point. It's not that you need to do more slow runs. It's not that you need to do more fast runs or change that. It could be actually that you're nutrient deficient. In terms of cognition and entrepreneurship or running a business, you might need more energy. You might need more energy. And you might think that more energy comes from caffeine or nicotine or maybe just improving your sleep. And so you might have some more caffeine, some more nicotine. You might even do a sleep protocol or focus on your dialing in your sleep. But if you're magnesium deficient, magnesium is required for ATP, the molecule of energy production within your cells, at many points in the Krebs cycle. So if you don't have magnesium, you're not going to actually be producing energy in your cells. Or you could have a bacterial infection, and that bacterial infection is lowering your body's cortisol levels. So when you wake up, you're already tired. It's telling you you need to rest, you need to recover from this bacterial infection. But you weren't able to identify that, so you just think you have fatigue. You think, okay, I need more caffeine to get me out of bed. Like something's going on, you know it, but you're not able to identify that it was a bacterial infection until you did the advanced blood work. And this is the beauty of advanced blood work. You're assessing every organ system that has a blood supply, which is all of them. All of them. And you're not only looking at your organs, but you're looking at your hormones, you're looking at different enzymes, you're looking at different proteins, and this paints the full picture of your physiology, which you can then identify the blind spots, because you may have done certificates in nutrition. You may be a personal trainer. You may be very well educated, well read, well researched in health just as a hobbyist. But we all have blind spots. And that's what advanced blood analysis with the right coach or the right practitioner, mentor, they'll be able to point that out. I have mentors in every element of my life, whether that be with my spiritual health, whether that be with my business and marketing, whether that be developing as a health practitioner. I have mentors because we all have blind spots and we need those things pointed out to us. And then once you do all of those things, you then have a benchmark. And that benchmark is essentially telling you, okay, I've reached optimal health. For myself, I'm 32, I'm at my optimal health. Okay, at 33, I can get my blood work done and always refer back to when I was 32 and feeling amazing. Or for you, you might be 38. And it's like, okay, by the time you get to 40, you can always refer back to when you were 38 and say, wow, okay, my testosterone was 10 points higher when I was 38. Okay, I had more zinc and I was feeling so good then. Why aren't I feeling good now? Oh, it's because I'm low in zinc and my testosterone's low and my inflammation's higher. So that benchmark is, it's really a long-term play, and it's investing in understanding yourself and then always knowing and having data to course correct from. So that is just a few of the many reasons that you want to be doing blood work properly. But the problem is you've likely done blood work already. Conventional testing with a general practitioner, maybe even a specialist, or maybe even one of those clinics, those functional health clinics. They all fall into a similar bucket, but let's stay with the conventional testing for now, okay? So what is the problem with conventional testing? Well, it's reactive. It is reactive. It is not preventative. It is disease management and it is reactive, okay? So when you're feeling unwell, you go, well, maybe not you, but the general population goes to the GP and they say, Doc, I'm not feeling well. I'm not feeling well. Okay, we'll run a blood test. So they run a blood test and then the next person comes to the doc, I'm not feeling well. They run a blood test and then an elderly person comes in and we say, oh, we better do your routine checkup. And so all the people getting blood tests done are either elderly or they're unwell, okay? And so the ranges that conventional testing is built off is off the population norm, the average. And so if the majority of people getting blood tests done are either sick or they're old and the average is decided upon because of them, then we're going to have very broad ranges and your health is going to be measured against people who are sick and old. And let's not forget, even just in Australia, 1 in 2 people are living with a chronic, one in 2 people are living with at least one long-term health condition. And over 64% of the population is either overweight or obese. Okay, so you do not want to be normal. You do not want to fall within their ranges and be told, oh, everything looks normal, because that is an absolute farce. Okay, and so because these ranges are based on the sick and the elderly, they're very broad. And so let's look at a few markers that highlight the problem with this. Testosterone, total testosterone for men on the conventional scale is 6 to 30. 6 to 30. So you, however old you are, 30 odd, 40 odd, 50 odd, you could have testosterone at 6.5 and be told that that's normal, okay? It not be flagged as a problem. That's a big problem, okay? That is a big problem. We want to see that on optimal ranges at 25 to 35 or higher, okay? That is a problem. But this is where also, because it's reactive and because a lot of practitioners aren't actually trained in blood chemistry analysis, we have a huge problem because they have to wait till you tip over that point, that until you go low or high on the very broad ranges before they take action, okay? Glucose, fasting blood glucose, this is crazy. Fasting blood glucose, conventional ranges, 3 to 5.4, okay? But there's outstanding research from University of Kaiser Northwest in the United States that shows any 0.1 over 4.8, for each 0.1 over 4.8, there is an increased risk of developing an 11% increased risk of developing type 2 diabetes, okay? Yet the conventional range is 5.4. It's 11% per point, per decimal after 4.8, okay? Problematic? I believe so. All right, homocysteine. Homocysteine, it rarely even gets tested by a lot of practitioners. Homocysteine can be 5 to 15. When homocysteine develops in the blood, right, we want to see that at 8. When the homocysteine rises in the blood, it can tell you about certain problems with nutrients like B12, B9, choline, glycine, creatine, okay? But none of that is notified until you get past 15. But homocysteine, when it raises in the blood, when it gets past 8, it's a preventative marker. It can tell you, okay, there's more damage being done to the blood vessels. There's a higher risk of things like erectile dysfunction. There's a higher risk of high blood pressure. There's a higher risk of cardiac arrest when homocysteine rises. And so, you stack glucose being high and damaging the blood vessel, and you stack homocysteine being high and damaging the blood vessel, but not out of the conventional ranges, you're leading yourself, or you are moving towards, a heart attack and high blood pressure, some of the most common causes of fatality in the world, but these guys haven't even taken note of it. Okay, now if you do step out of that range, you do go too high, it's a diagnosis, it's a script, and it's a referral to a specialist. And then you get stuck in a loop. And then what does the specialist do? Maybe it's another diagnosis, maybe it's another script, and maybe you go to another specialist. And then you stay stuck in the machine that is the sick care system, okay? And that's how it's designed. Specialist for your heart, specialist for your brain, specialist for your lung, isolation, reductionism. That's not how physiology works. Yet the way they test, the way they diagnose, the way they prescribe, and the way they treat works like that. Okay. Say your ranges didn't fall out of the normal range. You're told everything looks normal. And I can tell you it's probably 80% of the men that I work with come to me after having blood work done, either conventionally or by these functional clinics, just to be told everything looks normal. And these functional clinics, it's a story for another day, but you could literally put your results into ChatGPT and they'll give you a better analysis than fucking these functional clinics, or the exact same thing, because they're just operating off an algorithm themselves. All right, so bit problematic, all right? Big problematic. You can be misled. You can have a false sense of health, or you can just feel very hopeless if you do this, because you feel bad, you feel unwell, but you go there and someone tells you everything looks normal. Take a holiday, mate. It might just be stress. Have you seen a psychologist? It's all in your head. Maybe, or maybe you just need to do advanced blood analysis. And the difference between advanced blood analysis and conventional analysis is a few things. Number one, we use optimal ranges. What's an optimal range? It's a much tighter range, and it's based off the healthy population and not the sick population, okay? But with a caveat that we don't always use the optimal ranges. Because we understand the functional physiology of the markers, how they interact in the bloodstream, we're not always looking at the ranges. We're seeing how they're interacting. We're looking at ratios and patterns, because most people now, these 22-year-old testosterone coaches or whatever they are, who read blood work, like they just say, oh, it's high, it's low. It's not, it's high, it's low. Fuck, you may as well be doing this if you're just operating in it's high, it's low. You need to understand functional physiology, how the marker acts in the bloodstream, how each marker affects another marker, okay? And then through that, something might be on the ceiling or it might be on the floor, but through that, you're able to identify where things are trending, or you're able to see, okay, maybe this marker is being pulled high, like for albumin, the main protein in your blood, for albumin. When you're dehydrated, albumin goes up. When you're inflamed, albumin goes down. So albumin could sit right in the middle of the optimal range looking A-OK, but then we need to look at dehydration markers. Oh, this person is actually dehydrated. Okay, so that would be pulling it up. Oh, but they also got inflammatory markers, so that would be pulling it down. So it's actually, this marker is no longer telling us much because it's in this seesaw. So we need to look elsewhere, and we need to know where to look elsewhere to identify, root causes or weak areas of physiology. But it's not just the science. Oh, sorry, I'll get to another point. Understanding certain markers is the key, okay? So, MCV, mean corpuscular volume, that's the average size of your red blood cell. That can tell us so much. That's one of my favorite markers. It can tell us about B9, B12, copper, vitamin C. It can tell us about all these nutrients. It tells us how thick the blood is, okay? So we need to know how to understand, these differentials of your red blood cells. Or something like insulin. We need to understand the functional physiology and how it actually acts in the blood, because insulin's life in your blood is very short. So someone could look at insulin and it could be off the charts, and they could say, oh, you're insulin resistant. But it was just acutely raised. And that's why you want to have benchmarks, so you can always see, okay, my insulin's consistently high. There might be something going on. Or was it just an acute episode where insulin raised? From there, you mix the science, understanding the functional physiology, with the art. And this is the bit that AI doesn't do. This is the bit these functional clinics don't do, and these guys definitely don't do. The art is the pattern recognition. It's knowing the markers. Okay, this is high, this is high, this is low, this is low. That may indicate this. And then pairing that with the symptoms that you are experiencing, brain fog, fatigue, no libido, ruminating thoughts, all of this stuff, sore joints, taking that all into account with the markers, okay? So what's going on? What's the markers telling us? And I always like to look at the markers first. I always like to look at the markers first to have no biases. And then I'll look at the symptoms and then the lifestyle factors. And then that creates the science versus the art, because you take it all into account and you build a hypothesis for the individual, which then indicates, oh, the root cause of the symptoms might be gut health, and might be hormones, might be thyroid, might be liver, heart deficiencies. Or the root cause might be gut health, but we see it through the thyroid. Or the root cause might be deficiencies, but we see them through the hormones. Or the root cause might be liver issues, but we see it through looking at glucose and insulin and cholesterol as well. So these pattern recognition, everything's pattern recognition when you think about it. Like, all the investors, they're just traders, they're just pattern recognizing and making judgments and hypotheses and moving towards something. In construction or in sports, a sports player seeing the field unfolding, they're just recognizing the patterns and making the next move that they're going to make based on that decision. This is very black and white. This is alive. This is real health. This is a real health practitioner taking into account everything: stresses, traumas, happiness, work-life enjoyment, symptoms, markers, all of that, past medication, all of that needs to be taken into account, and it's always moving. One of my first mentors always said, the assessment never ends. And if you work with a real practitioner, the assessment never ends. And that is really why you want to do advanced blood analysis. It's to identify the root cause or weak areas of physiology. Some people might have chronic health conditions. Some people might be chronically unwell. Another mentor taught me that. You either position people as chronically unwell, and they might have a lot of root causes, or chronically ill, and they might have a lot of root causes or multiple, or they're just chronically unwell and they might just have weak areas of physiology. And so it's about understanding the individual. The analysis is a big piece of it. You want that blood work for yourself and to continue to learn from that. But to really address what's going on and to really reach peak performance, it has to take into account every part of the individual. And that is, even though it's a bastardized word, that is a holistic system. That is a holistic approach. Now, last but not least, if you want to do all of this, how to get accurate blood work done? Well, first thing you want to do, without wasting thousands, how to get accurate blood work done without wasting thousands at functional medicine clinics, or just buying your blood test and thinking that the answer's in there. Because the truth is, like, blood work is non-direct. There's no marker that says you have low stomach acid. You have to assess that through the patterns and understanding the markers and their functional physiology. So don't waste thousands until you sort of know what it is you want to be testing. So test the right things. Test the right things. You can get a lot of information, or I can, and you can eventually, if you do if you do a little bit of research through comprehensive metabolic panel, a complete blood count, and a lipid panel, and maybe some iron studies. That's going to tell you so much. The most basic things, even your GP would order that. But if you want to test your hormones, if you want to know where your testosterone's at, where your hormones are at, how they're interacting, estrogen, prolactin, SHBG, DHEA, all these, you want to test the right things, okay? So number one, to get an accurate blood work done, is test the right things for the outcome you're looking to achieve or root cause you're looking to identify. Then prepare properly. And this is, so many people fuck this up. Prepare for the blood test properly. And how we do that, not training legs for 4 days prior to the test. It's painful. I know, I hate that, but you got to do it. Not training upper body for 3 days prior to the test, or any training, like no running, not even long hikes can throw it off. That's because it's going to interfere with the inflammatory markers, your liver enzymes. It's just going to fuck the whole panel. Don't train, just rest. Then no supplements for 3 days prior, no sauna for 3 days prior. Again, they're going to influence the markers and you're not going to get an accurate result. And that if you don't have an accurate result, you can't have an accurate protocol. So accurate result is essential. Then what else? Also, you want to be fasted for the right period of time, ideally 12, 13 hours. If you fast too long, it can interfere with your iron markers and throw them out of whack. You also don't want to have any tea or coffee the morning of the test. You want to have that test done as early as possible. If they open at 7, go at 7, because your testosterone will be peaking then. Some people get their testosterone tested at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. They wonder why their testosterone's low. Testosterone follows a circadian cycle, so it's going to be naturally much higher when you wake up in the morning. And then you want to hydrate. Dehydration will wreck markers like albumin. Dehydration will wreck these markers. It will wreck your blood test. So 750 mils to a litre of water within 3 hours prior to the test. If you wake up at 6, 750 mils will be adequate. Plus, it's going to fucking suck. It's going to suck. I did go to get a blood test once and I wasn't properly hydrated and it was cold. And they're saying drawing blood from a stone, that's what it felt like. It was painful. So the blood's going to come out of you a lot easier from the phlebotomist when they take your blood if you're hydrated. So make sure you're hydrated. That's everything you need to prepare properly. Then measure your results against optimal ranges. If you want to know what the optimal ranges are, you can get them from a link in the description all of the optimal ranges. You just upload your blood test. It will give you an analysis of your blood test against the optimal ranges. It will also figure out some ratios for you. So I've created that calculator. You can use that in the description for free. And then when you get your blood work done, the next time you get your blood test done, replicate the conditions. Test at the same time of the day. If you ended up training 48 hours prior, training in 48 hours prior, it's just going to replicate the conditions. That's really important when you're doing your benchmarks, is to same time blood collected, always replicate the conditions so you can have an accurate reading of your health. So just to recap, you want to get advanced blood work done because it acts like a sniper. Most people are throwing grenades and they're losing the battle. If you act like a sniper, you're going to be fucking well ahead of people, unscathed, and it's really a performance enhancer, whatever you do. Want to be a better parent? Blood work will help you be a better parent. More energy, more vibrancy. You'll learn what to eat and you'll feed your kids better. Becoming a better athlete, most people think they need to improve their training or their conditioning, might just be a deficiency. You get your testosterone up, you become a better athlete, better businessman. You doing this, you being a sniper and getting blood work done as a businessman, you knowing what supplements to take to get your cognition dialed in, to have your energy on point every day, to sleep better, knowing what to eat, knowing what not to eat, because it's going to give you brain fog, it's going to destroy your focus. That is a game changer as an entrepreneur. Grenade, you don't want. You want to be a sniper. The problem with conventional testing, your health's being measured against sick people. If you want to be average, if you want to be mediocre, like fucking the majority of people, go do this and consider this truth. That's mediocrity in a nutshell. If you don't want to be mediocre, you want to be an elite operator. Optimal ranges, advanced blood analysis. This is what all high performers do. This is what elite operators do. And they stay up to date with it. And just like a business, right? If you have a constraint in your business, you need to remove that constraint. That's the root cause. A business can only scale to the degree that it is constrained. You can only perform to the degree that you are constrained. So remove that constraint, boom, you're at another level as an operator. And then finally, if you are going to get your blood work done, test the right things, prepare properly, measure against optimal ranges. Don't forget, you can get the optimal ranges from the description below, and replicate the conditions every single time you get blood work done. So that is it for today. If you want to see a video on how I increase my testosterone naturally by 62.5% in just a matter of months, you can click somewhere around here and I will see you there.